Welcome into a new BuffStampede Radio. Adam Munsterteiger, the publisher of BuffStampede.com, joined by football analyst William Gardner. We were both out at Colorado's open practice in Denver at All City Stadium on Friday night. It was good to catch up with you for a little bit there, William. We've got a lot to get into. I know you've got some notes over there, and I think the best way to go is position by position. There they are. Look at those notes. I can't wait to get into them with you.
Yeah.
Just first off, how you doing, and general impressions from last night without getting into into the weeds here too far.
Yeah, I think we'll get into plenty of weeds as we go along, but I'm doing fine. If I look red in the face, it's because I'm stupid and I didn't get tickets on the west side where the shade was, and so it just sort of it was hot last night. It was hot on the east side. Probably was pretty darn comfortable over on the west side, but there were a lot of people there. When I looked across at the west side to me looked like it was pretty full. I think on the east side, everybody came down to the fence and was standing along the fence, but there were still a lot of people up there. So it was a lot. It was a lot of people there, and it's 6:30 on a beautiful day on a Friday in Denver. And I'm sure they sold out. And everybody claimed all the tickets, but you know what? At the last minute, probably some people didn't come because it's a practice. I don't know, or they had to go to dinner with the wife, or who knows. But it was a good crowd.
That's 100% the reason. And so these were free tickets. So if you claim them, there was no negative to you not using them. If you had bought tickets to a game for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, whatever, $100, whatever it is, you're going to want to get that money back. So you're going to put it on a ticket sharing app, and you're going to get somebody that's going to get those tickets. And you still might not have every seat filled even in that scenario, but the way that was set up. And so with security, you're not going to take any risks. You're not going to, I know Coach Prime was I think he was semi-joking about we're going to have 10,000 people for a 5,000 seat stadium. And there are some security issues with that. So you really can't do that. And it was cool for CU because when you get those tickets, I would assume you put your email address in, and then all of a sudden they can send you promotional stuff for tickets. And so there's a benefit for them, even though those tickets were free, but all those tickets were claimed. So the Coach Prime excitement is still at a fever pitch going into the season. And there's some media members like myself that go into the stadium really, really early. I was there, I parked 2 hours before the team even got there. And I took a picture maybe right when the team got there. The fans aren't there yet. And so you've got these CSU people saying, well, look at Colorado. They said they were going to sell this place out. And it's like, well, they did for a free event. It was pretty freaking cool. And I'm kind of annoyed that anybody's even throwing shade at Colorado for doing this, because I had covered a lot of open practices at Colorado back in the day, and you might be lucky to get 30 people there. So it was pretty incredible last night at All City Stadium. End of rant.
And that okay, we're gonna do a little Lamaze breathing here. We're gonna get you back into. I'm the wild man here. You're taking my thunder, brother. I don't know what that stadium holds. It's not the easiest stadium to get into. I'm not making an excuse or anything, but like I said, the west side stands were full. Okay, when I looked across, I think the east side stands, man, it was hot. I mean, it was hot up in.
You guys were all just kind of mingling around trying to find shade over there.
Yeah, and people, and so they did have a concession stand open. People were going down to that and what have you. But I really feel like the fence line was packed with people. At that stadium, there's a walkway, and then there's a fence, so you can't get on the field. And everybody was down along that fence. So I think a lot of people that would have been up in the stands were down along that fence. And the fence line goes down beyond south of the the stadium down to where the locker room building is, and that's where I saw you, was way down at that end, and people were all lined up on the fence all the way down there. So there was a lot of people there. I don't know what that stadium holds, but I would guess 3,000, 4,000 people, 5,000.
The capacity they say is 5,700. I don't know how many actual seats in the bleachers there are.
Yeah, I'd say there's over 3,000 people there last night. I don't know how to. That's not my specialty, but
which is pretty incredible for a practice in
Practice.
which you
Yeah.
know that they're not going to show a whole lot because they have a game
Yeah.
coming up in less than 2 weeks.
And let me channel my inner Allen Iverson. We're talking about practice, man. Practice. Okay. And there was a lot of people there, and there was a lot of energy there. You know, people were excited about that first play of the scrimmage was that long pass down the field to Will Shepherd. Oh my God, Will Shepherd. We'll
Yeah.
get to that. But and cheering, and there were a lot of people there, man. I don't know why we're I don't know, I guess we're both feeling a little bit annoyed by the people claiming there wasn't anybody there, because there was.
Today's episode is brought to us by Macaulay Capital Fractional CFO Services. Is your business looking for financial guidance and support but not yet big enough to hire a full-time CFO? Well, we have a solution for you. Hiring a fractional CFO who can work with your business on a part-time basis. You get the benefit of having a seasoned financial expert on your team without the commitment or expense of a full-time hire. And here's the best part. It's likely that a partnership with Macaulay Capital will be a win-win situation, meaning that your business will make more money from the guidance of a fractional CFO than the total cost of partnering with us. For more information or to set up a meeting, please visit MacaulayCapital.com. That's MCCAULEY Capital.com. One takeaway from yesterday was when Coach Prime said that both coordinators are going to be on the sidelines during games. And that's, a situation where now, especially where you have the offensive coordinator communicating with the quarterback, kind of having that ability to communicate between drives, I think is helpful. And it helps having Brett Bartoloni on staff because he was an offensive coordinator at Jackson State. He knows how Shedeur Sanders ticks. You've got Michael Pollock up there as well, who's got a lot of experience. So you've got some eyes up there. Generally, I don't really like the offensive coordinator being on the sidelines. I feel like the emotions of the sideline can be a bit much, and you really can't see anything from the sideline. But Pat Shurmur has a lot of experience as a coach. And so he knows where he needs to be. I feel pretty confident. You can question Pat Shurmur coming back to college to call plays at this level, and what is that going to look like? But from him knowing what is comfortable for him and the best situation for him to call plays, if he thinks it's on the sideline so he can communicate with Shedeur, then I think you got to go with that.
I don't think people understand how it works for a coaching staff. It's like, if I'm an offensive line coach, I got somebody up there who I can talk to on the headphones and say, tell me what the fronts are. How are they shaded here? Are they shaded there? What are they doing in terms of their slants and stunts? And I can get the offensive line and we can talk about that, right? And Shermer could do the same thing. Tell me what they're doing with their free safety. Are they walking him up as a strong safety over here? Where are they going? And as long as you got somebody up top that you trust and they know what the hell they're looking for, all it is about getting information to the right person playing the calls. And if you get the right information, you can make the right calls. So I don't think people, it's never been a big deal to me. I've never been up in the booth. I don't coach from the booth, man. I got to coach my guys from down on the sideline. So it's never been a thing to me, but if whatever works for any individual coach is what works. So, I think Shermer, again, it's got so much experience that I would trust what he does. Livingston, first time doing it. I don't know. We'll see,
I just hope we don't see, there were times last year with some of those 12 men on the field calls that it looked like Charles Kelly's head was going to explode. I just hope for Rob Livingston's sake that we don't see a repeat of that.
Well, it's funny you should bring that up because it just reminded me. I forgot to put it in. I got 2 full pages of notes and I still forgot things. But one of the things that I noticed last night was there wasn't any of that junk. There wasn't any offsides and false starts and too many men on the field, and I don't know how closely the refs were watching that kind of stuff, but I didn't see those kinds of mistakes yesterday. And I think one thing we should tell people who were not there, it was just scrimmaging, man. For like an hour and a half. They just went. It wasn't watching drills. It was live football the whole damn time that we were there. So they ran a lot of plays, and they ran a lot of plays with a lot of different guys. And I didn't see any of those sort of knuckleheaded things that we saw last year. So that was a positive to me.
I think we all want to thank Coach Prime and anybody else that decided that they would do this last night. Like you said, there was a lot of action out there. Now they had to be 100% vanilla. Shador was a little bit frustrated by that. We'll get to that later,
We'll
but
get into that for sure.
It was a nice appetizer for the football season last night. And it wasn't, if you went out there expecting to see, a game like setting, maybe you left disappointed, but that's on you for showing up with that disappointment. I attended, back in the day, they were all open practices. So I'm sure, 1,000 CU practices I've attended. That was one of the more action-packed practices. It was clear that they were there to break up the monotony for the team, but also to give those folks that showed up something entertaining to watch.
And like I said, they just played football, man. It wasn't, like half line drills or whatever. They had 11 on 11, full pad, full go the whole damn time that I was there, except for right at the beginning with the warm ups and a little bit of those kinds of drills. And I think the other thing that I was standing on that fence line where I chatted with you, and I was surrounded by 4 different Denver Public Schools principals, and from 4 different schools, and I was just chatting with them, and they were super excited to have CU there. They were very excited that Coach Prime had talked to them, had told them he would come to their schools, talk to their kids. And I was like, this is priceless. These are the Denver Public Schools, and we got our coach in there, and we got our team down on their field. And I just think that's the kind of thing, you see all this national garbage, this anti-prime. I call it anti-prime garbage. You don't see this, where he's actually reaching out to the community. And I was talking to 3 Denver police department officers who were there doing security and the Denver Public School security. And by the way, I got a kick out of Prime, and at the beginning of his press conference, he said, we got down here, I had to go to the bathroom. I wasn't going in the bathroom with the crowd, so we stopped. There's a police station right over there. I was like, yeah, I know, I posted that, Prime. I said District 3 right there by the stadium. He said, I ran in there. I'm not even sure they knew I was there.
I bet they knew he was there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
All right, where do you want to go next? Do you want to jump into position by position, or do you have some other general topics you want to get into?
Yeah, I think we can talk positions, or we can talk about. I think one of the things we need to make clear that Coach Prime made clear in his press conference was that they had handcuffs on the offense. Okay.
Right.
They didn't run quick snaps. They didn't run long counts. They didn't change up the snap count. They didn't audible. They didn't do formations to show everything. Because I know somebody said, well, obviously Shermer didn't change anything as far as picking up, helping with. You can't take that. Last night they did like 5% of the playbook, and they didn't show anything. And yet there were still a lot of positives there. So you have to understand that when we go into an actual game, we're going to see different snap counts. We're going to see different formations. We're going to see quick counts. Like one of the things he specifically said was there was no quick game. So they have planned to get out there and have a higher tempo at some point, obviously, because he mentioned it, that they weren't doing it specifically. So I think we'll see a lot of those things help an offensive line, particularly in pass protection. I think as a general statement, I was really impressed with the run game. I guess we should also say this too. It was practice. Okay. So I never know what to take from these things, right? I thought the run game looked good. Does that mean our run defense is bad? I don't know the answer to that, except I thought that those running backs were really patient, found holes, and really ran with purpose. And I know, lots of people, I think that which Hood brother plays offense is
Brandon Hood. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people were very impressed with Brandon Hood. The guy that standing out to me was Isaiah Augustov. I love the way he ran yesterday.
Downhill runner was the main thing that stood out to me last night.
Yeah. And so I think the run game looked good to me. I think the pass protection was better than a lot of people think it was. And I also think we have got some premier pass rushers on this team. And I think
yeah, sorry to cut you off. I think the pass rush being so successful last night, if it wasn't coming off 2023 and Shador getting sacked as many times as he did, it wouldn't have drawn as much. I don't want to say fake concern, because you want to see Shador protected no matter the situation. But when you throw in all those factors like you did, the fact that the offense was handcuffed and you've upgraded your pass rush the way they did, you kind of want that to stand out, right? Because if they're not standing out in that situation against a vanilla offensive script, then that's more concerning to me, honestly.
Right. And I think it's a good thing in a way. I will say this: as I always do, I was watching the offensive line, and I also know that Prime said that they were very limited in what kind of pass routes and things that they did. They were very vanilla in terms of that too. So there was only, I would say, twice during the whole long thing that I thought, well, these quarterbacks are holding the ball too long again. And again, can't make anything out of one practice, one play here or there. But I thought that Tyler Brown looked really good at right tackle. I didn't see him having any problems at all. The guy who had struggles last night was Seaton, okay, which, is 2 weeks out from his first game. What I saw from him, he was having trouble with Tajay McCoy and with Arden Walker, and both were using a combination of speed rush and a what I call a rip and run the circle technique, and kind of taking him upfield and bending around. And without being able to show you on film, it's hard to explain what that means. But there are ways to handle that. Okay, and it's good that he's seeing it now, and he's got to learn those ways. One of them, you take the offhand, and you jack it in his hip, and you drive him up the field. And he's going to learn those things better than he learns them now, against these pass rushers than later on in the season. I would also say it's I think that Harden was the starting right guard, but you told me last night that it looks like Benson will be back here pretty quick.
So well, he was stood up in pads last night. He did not participate in that, but we don't get a ton of official injury updates. In fact, it's very rare that we get many, but I would expect him to be back in the mix at some point. And, Tyler Johnson's in there as well. You've really, with Kareem Harden now, it seems like he stepped up. You've got three options really for that right guard role now.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure. I saw a lot of Ben Resnick, I think is the kid's name, is a redshirt or a walk-on at the right tackle. I'm not sure where Hummel was last night, if he's injured or what, but I think Resnick struggled a lot in that, and he's not going to play. I mean, he's not going to play. I don't know who the other, I don't know what was going on with Hummel or what our other options are, but I know there was a lot of angst and concern on the board this morning about moving Tyler Brown to tackle. I don't give a damn that he's 6'3". It's not the height that matters so much; it's the length. And you and I were trying to remember somebody who was a starting tackle a few years ago who was shorter than usual. But what matters for Tyler Brown is that he's got the arm length to handle that. And again, I watched him every play last night. He looked fine to me. So, we'll see how that plays out. But I'm not sure where we were. We were talking about pass rush, and that you can't talk about the pass rush without talking about the offensive line too. But we got some pass rushers on this team, and Tajay McCoy is the guy that stood out last night again. And I'm going to tell you, I still think he's the best natural pass rusher I've seen in a long time. I think he's a better natural pass rusher than Jimmy Gilbert. I think he's just got that skill, and his first couple of steps are so lightning fast. It's nuts. And so I said on the board, he made Seaton look a little silly a couple of times. He's going to make a lot of people look silly. So
was it Casey Roddick that he played tackle, right? First season?
Did he? One year, I can't remember. It's all that he might be. I thought he was just a guard the whole time, but he might have played that tackle for a while.
You know what? This is going to drive me nuts. I'm going to come back and I'm going to drop in the name of the person I'm trying to think of right now, but I'm going to have to go look it up. It's one of those things as you get older, William. The names don't come back to you as fast as they used to.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of data on a lot of years and a lot of teams, so I don't know. I don't know where we were. I guess we were talking pass rush. Do you want to go position by position?
Yeah. So quarterback, Shador is Shador. I don't know how much time you want to spend there. The 7-on-7 stuff with him was phenomenal, just to see his arm talent. And I hope folks stuck around to watch that.
Yeah. And he and Will Shepherd have got something going on, man, because that guy, Jesus, there was 2 long passes down the right sideline. I'm going to tell you this about Will, and please understand the coverage was not bad. I mean, he was blanketed. Will Shepherd after last night, I believe that guy can catch anything that's anywhere near him because Jesus, that guy, he can get up. He's got ball skills and he will catch anything that's near him. And I don't see anybody covering that guy this year. I mean, he would, and I don't, I'm not a skill position guy. So I'm just going to tell you what I saw last night was Will Shepherd special. And he's
Yeah.
got a connection. He's got a connection with Shador, and Shador's got the arm to put it out there. Cause like there was one play, and we'll get to the backup QBs here in a second, but there was a play that one of the backups threw down in that area that they just didn't have the arm to get it far enough out there. You get it out far enough, and these guys are going to run to the ball. The other thing that stood out to me about the receivers is as I really watching Jimmy Horn last night. I think he's a lot faster this year than he was last year. I don't know how any way to verify that, but he just looks faster and quicker to me. And one thing I came away with is we are freaking loaded at wide receiver.
Yeah. Even Terrell Timmons looked good running around
Yeah.
out there last night. And yeah, I guess we skipped ahead here. Sticking with quarterback, Ryan Staub has been going against the first team defense all
Right.
preseason. We know that he's thrown a lot of picks. This is one of those preseason conundrums. Does that mean that Colorado's first team defense is as salty as we think? Is that why Ryan Staub struggles at times? There's a lot of excitement over Ponder, the walk-on that joined the mix, and I like the way he moves around and throws the football. He's got some athleticism.
Right.
He's also been going against the threes. That's
right.
The difference there is like the Grand Canyon in terms of, especially you talk ones, twos, maybe not so much, but ones to threes. I mean, you're going to look a lot better. Ryan Staub would look really, really good if he went against the threes, I would think, consistently.
Yeah. And I think that's not going to be a fair comparison. And I think he'll still end up, I still think he's a good quarterback and will wind up being the backup. But, I saw some things from Ponder that are very nice. He's got the nice height and he's athletic, and watched him run the RPO last night. And he makes really good reads. And when he keeps it, he's able to be an actual threat running the ball. So I thought he did a really good job. Got a nice arm. So I think we got a couple of good quarterbacks there as backups. So we got some depth. Now, obviously, this team's going to rise and fall with Shador. Well, maybe I don't know. That's your conventional wisdom, but there's a lot of other weapons on this team besides Shador.
Destin Wade actually engineered a touchdown drive, and he's had moments where he's looked pretty comfortable. I see him moving around out there with his size, though, and it makes me wonder what he would look like as a tight end.
Yeah, and I don't know. I saw a couple nice catches. We targeted the tight ends a few times yesterday, and I don't know if that's where his future will be. But he's a young guy with some good size as well.
With this amount of receiver talent, with Shador Sanders at quarterback, you probably don't want the tight end on the field all the time. But when you do, you need somebody that's reliable. Sam Hart, as Coach Pollock told the DNVR guys this past week, was dealing with a little bit of a hamstring injury, and Savell Smalls has kind of come on and done a nice job in that role. He was with the ones. Hart was out there a little bit. He had one catch yesterday. Those two guys are what you need them to be in that serviceable. Right. And if you can get above that, then that would be a nice surprise.
Yeah, I mean, what you want from a tight end in an offense like this is that you don't want your tight end to signal that you're running the ball. I mean, you don't want a guy that you can only put him out there as a blocker. He's got to be able to catch the ball. Otherwise, defenses will key on that and act accordingly. So you want a guy who can be a threat in the pass game, but clearly the weapons on this team are at the wide receiver spots. So you want him in there as, not necessarily a decoy, but as an alternative. Like if they're going to try to go with 6 defensive backs or something and try to cover all those receivers, and you've got their tight end out there, you want to have him catch the ball, and run over some people. So I think we got people that can give us the sort of variety, I guess, that we need from that position to make it profitable to put them out there in the first place.
Yeah. Running back, those guys offensively were pretty consistent yesterday. We talked about Brandon Hood.
They all look good.
Yeah, Hood's got that second gear. I was telling Brian last night, I don't know what his role is, but it's one of those, it's fun for the future conversations about what that can look like with him getting in the open field, because I think he's going to make a lot of plays if he sticks around in the program. Dallin Hayden is pretty consistent in getting more run with the ones. Charlie Offerdahl is consistent as ever. I don't, I think the thing with him is just the ceiling aspect, and that's no knock on Charlie Offerdahl. He's busted through any ceiling that anybody outside perceived that he would have. But I don't think Charlie Offerdahl leads his team in receiving, I guess is what I'll put. But at this point now, getting close to within 2 weeks of the season opener, I expect him and Hayden to be 1 and 2 right away. That could change. It's a very tight competition. As Coach Prime said, there's no depth chart set until basically game day, because somebody could get sick, somebody could get injured. There's a lot of things at play. Somebody could just go crazy, and we love Michael Welch and what his potential is. And you talked about Isaiah Augustov. My commentary is more based on reading what they're doing, and it seems like Offerdahl and Hayden are 1 and 2 right now.
Well, there's not a problem with that. I mean, I know there are going to be people on the board that say things like, well, we're going to have trouble if Charlie Offerdahl is one of our top 2 running backs. Well, that's bullshit, and that's just stupid. Maybe he's not going to be Herschel Walker, but I thought it was very clear in Coach Prime's presser afterwards that the reason Charlie Offerdahl is there is because you can trust him to do his job on every single play. Now, maybe when he gets the ball, he's not the guy that's a threat to go the distance. But you know what? If the guy's getting 5 yards of carry, that's a winning freaking play, right? And he's not a liability in the pass game. He's not going to mess up his assignment, and that goes a long way. Everybody wants to have a superstar, but you can't be a superstar until you can actually be trusted on every single play to begin with. And I don't know that I'm not saying that those other guys can't be trusted. I think the true freshmen, probably have some work to do to still understand the entire offense and what have you. But Charlie Offerdahl is a guy you could put out there who can get you yardage, okay, and will cover every other thing that you need a running back to do. So I have no problem with him being one of the top 2 running backs on this team. And as you say, as we go along, all 5 of these guys can play. All 5 of these guys can play. And as we go through the season, we're going to see you're going to see some of them come along as they get more practice and playing time and do more things with this offense. And if somebody goes down, we got somebody who can back them up. But I am impressed with that running back group, that every single one of them can add something to this team.
Where you touched on the wide receivers and the tight ends as well. I guess one more note to add there is Morgan Pearson, who was also converted like Savell Smalls from defense. He's running third string there at tight end. Anything else offensively, offensive line that you have in your notes there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things about the offensive line. I mean, I thought, I guess I probably already touched on most of this. I think Kareem Harden is coming along and developing at that right guard. I mean, he's 6'5", 315, and I think he's in his 4th or 5th year. He's still got a red shirt available, but he might be one of those 6-year guys. But he's got the size, and he's certainly got the strength. And so I don't think he's going to be the starter at that right guard. But I was impressed with Coach Prime in his presser afterwards that he was very emphatic that we have depth on the offensive line and that he's happy with what he sees there. And I don't think that he would just be making that up. I think he feels good about what they're seeing there, and whatever anybody else saw last night, so be it. But I think that Jordan Seaton and this offensive line going against the pass rushers we have on this team are going to make them better. And I think it's going to be a situation like we used to have in the 90s, when games are actually going to be easier. North Dakota State's not going to put anybody that can rush the passer the way these guys can. So we'll see, but I think that going against these guys on a daily basis is going to make them better. And I think I think that I don't know. There's not really much else I can say about. I thought that the interior 3, no matter who they were, all looked pretty good on the offensive line. I think we got lots of options at center and guard. I think I was still struck a little bit by Yakiri Walker that he's not a big guy for an offensive lineman, but he seemed to do pretty well out there. And so I think we'll just have to wait and see where things go. I think I would caution people not to read too much into what you're hearing from last night. First of all, they ran a hell of a lot of plays, right? So the fact that there was some pressure on the quarterback, there was a lot of places where there was no pressure on the quarterback, and obviously a lot of the big passing plays and run plays. I thought the running game was pretty solid. So
defensively, we talked about the edge guys. What did you think about the interior of the defensive line? It's really difficult to break down all 11 guys, every position.
right.
Really 22 guys because you're watching both sides of the ball. Did you have any takeaways there?
The one guy that really stood out to me was Shane Coates, who looks like an entirely different player to me this year. He looks bigger, he looks quicker. He was in the backfield a lot, and I think he's going to be a problem for teams as we face them this year because he's a whole different kind of player than a lot of your bigger, bulkier defensive linemen. I thought that I was struck by how huge. And I'm blanking on the name of the kid from Alabama. Defensive tackle.
And Quinn Barnes.
I'm just struck by how ginormously huge he is, and he looks solid. I guess I feel like the defensive line was solid out there, and I think we really legitimately do go 2 or 3 deep at most of those defensive line and edge positions.
Which three you're going to rotate so much on the D line? It's kind of like a basketball team. It doesn't matter who starts, it's who finishes, but if you were going to pick interior guys to go within that opener, just based on your knowledge and the little bit you've seen, what would you go with?
Well, it's Cokes and Nwankwo for sure
Okay.
are above the others, and then I would think,
And that's who it was last night.
Right, and I think the next would be Torian Carter, based on what we've seen in other practices, not necessarily so much last night. But it's very clear to me that Cokes and Nwankwo are the top 2 guys, and then we have a variety of guys after that. Somebody on the board said our D line is small. Man, that's crazy. We're not small. We're over 300 by almost all those guys. And so I think, and I guess one of the guys I'm a little surprised that I haven't seen show up so far this year is Amari McNeil. A little disappointed that he hasn't shown more, but I think that Coach Lewis and Coach Sapp keep talking about they're 3 deep at those spots. I think they are, and I think that's why we talked about when we talked about our top 40. Amari McNeil might be a guy who is actually better this year and plays less because there's so much more talent.
All right, with the edge guys, who's going to lead this team in sacks this year?
Oh boy, man,
I just threw you a really tough question because I don't even know how I would answer.
Do everybody, and I'm as jaded as the next guy for a CU fan that we haven't had a pass rush in a long damn time, and I think we're going to have several guys because the obvious answer would be BJ Green or Dayon Hayes, but I got to tell you, man, nobody can block Tajay McCoy, and.
He's got one of the quickest first steps I've seen it.
Oh my God, it's nuts, and it's not just because our guys suck on the offensive side. That guy is legitimately talented, and he's one of the better natural pass rushers I've seen in a long time. Now can he do the other things that'll get you on the field more? But 3rd and long, you got to have that guy out there. Yeah. But at the same time, who do you take off? So I think you could put him out on the edge and move DJ.
You move BJ Green inside, and their package that they put out there defensively when other teams are in obvious passing situations is going to be so much fun to watch.
Because look, it's going to be you're going to have your 2 inside guys are going to be Cokes and Green, right? And then you're going to have 2 edge guys.
You can put Oakland Lola with his hand in the ground. You can put Arden Walker with his. I mean, you've got. I can't wait to see that situation play out this fall.
Right, and so I think that's exciting, and that's why you asked the question, who's going to lead us in sacks? Man, I couldn't honestly tell you. It's not inconceivable that we have several guys close to 10 sacks.
What about linebacker? Any takeaways there?
Yeah, I thought I specifically was watching Trevor Woods, and I was super impressed by him inside. I thought he and I think I put it on the board. When I first got there, I got there early like you did, and the players got off the buses and they put all their stuff along the south fence line, and they all came in, walked right past where I was standing to go to the bathroom underneath the stadium there, and so I got to see every single one of them up close, and seeing Trevor Woods up close, I believe 100% that he's at 225 in that range, 6'2" ish, 225. But watching him play, I was super impressed that he reads the defense well, he scrapes well, he fills holes well, he tackled solidly in the hole. So I was super impressed with Trevor Woods at inside linebacker. I think that being able to actually practice that position and be in the room and stuff has made a big difference. And I think he's going to do a great job there. Beyond him, honestly, I was watching the linemen so much, I didn't really focus much on the linebackers.
It looks pretty clear that Bentley's locked up that spot,
Yeah.
barring any kind of crazy occurrence here down the stretch. And then you had guys like Johnny Chaney and Nikai Hill-Green, and you had Jalen Wester as well that were rotating in with that second group at linebacker.
And Prime specifically mentioned Jeremiah Brown as well.
Jeremiah Brown as well. Should mention him. He is one of those guys you forget about, but you definitely shouldn't. So, yeah.
I think my takeaway from this is, man, our front seven is going to be a lot better than people think. And the other thing that Coach Prime kept saying in his presser was, we got depth. And, man, he ain't lying. We got some depth on this team. I didn't get to Coach Prime's presser because there's another comment he made that I'd like to chat. Well, maybe this is the spot. He talked about he thinks there's 7 guys on this defense that can get drafted. Do you remember him hearing that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you have thoughts on that? Because I was kind of thinking about it, and I don't think he's crazy about that. I think some of those edge guys, and I don't know if he means specifically after this year, but there's
he did say after this season.
After this season,
okay.
Yeah. BJ Green is the obvious one, but Deion Hayes maybe, and some of these other guys, edge players, and then I don't know who he had in mind, but certainly some of these secondary guys. I think specifically. He had in mind Hodge.
Preston Hodge, yeah.
Preston Hodge for sure.
He's an NFL guy.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, DJ McKinney will be, but obviously not next year.
Yeah. And I think that
like, to be honest with you, 7 or 8 sounds high to me. But if you're talking about undrafted free agents in there as well, then I'm on board.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe if you
there will be some guys that exceed expectations, some that live up to what we're talking about right now. Right. And it doesn't matter what team, even if you win 10 games, there's a couple guys that just for whatever reason aren't living up to your preseason expectations. Right. Having done this, I think this is my 22nd year, and like it's like clockwork. They're no matter how much. Even if we were there every day, even Coach Prime and his staff are going to be surprised a little bit pleasantly and disappointingly, like with some guys. It just is the nature of the beast. That's why they always talk about when the lights come on. And they try to simulate that last night, and it was a nice way to break up the monotony. But when you go out to Lincoln, Nebraska, that's a whole different set of lights that you're dealing with out there.
And I've, 40 years of following college football and watching it pretty closely. The starting 11 on either side of the ball that you see in game 1 is often very significantly different by the time you get to game 6 or 7, and certainly by the end of the season, because some guys that are starting in game 1 fall by the wayside, or and then the guys who are not ready for game 1 keep developing, getting better, and then all of a sudden start to bloom in mid-season, or they get thrown out there because of an injury or whatever, and it's like the military too. It's like the guy goes down, next guy stands up. Either he does the job or he doesn't, and some guys will stand up and become stars because they finally get that opportunity and they blossom under the lights. So we'll see. I just think that there's a lot more depth and talent on this defense than people think there is.
Yeah. Do you have anything else? Let's see. We did linebackers, the front 7. DJ McKinney had a nice pick last night.
Yeah. That was a heck of a play.
Yeah, that really was. Anything stand out to you about the secondary guys? Shiloh wearing the no contact jersey. I was joking with Brian. I think he should wear that every practice, even if he's hasn't been coming back from an injury, just because it saves the risk of injury for your offensive guys a little bit, because I think he only knows one way to play the game of football.
Right, which is to go full speed. I don't know. I think again, the old saying, iron sharpens iron, and we've got a good secondary against good wide receivers, and they're going to test each other, and I think, people should not take too much from any given film or practice. Like you watch one or two plays and you think you got a handle on things. You don't, I mean,
Right.
and one of the things going back to, one of the things about coaching football was that, you take you take a 2-hour practice, right? And there's a lot of reps in there, and a lot of guys get reps, and you got to look at all of those, and you've got to go back and think about them and look at the practice film or whatever to see who did what. And it's really a body of work. It's not one or two plays that make any difference. It's a body of work and getting better every day. So I know it's again, sort of focus on the two lines and the front seven, what have you. So I don't have a lot to say too much about the secondary, except that I think they all look pretty good.
Kickers were fine. You simulate a little bit more pressure, I guess, with people in the crowd. But as Coach Prime said when he was asked about the kickoffs, he said anybody can kick, in this setting. But yeah, when you're in a game setting, that's when we're really going to be able to analyze that group. We know Mark Vassett is a very solid punter, so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time there. I did find it interesting, and we know LeJontay Wester's got to be their punt returner.
I was just going to say this.
Borderline All-American, but we saw Assad Wasim also fielding punts out there, and Shiloh Sanders as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, during the actual scrimmage, the only guy I saw during the scrimmaging portion was Jimmy Horn Jr. actually returning punts, but then I probably missed some of those.
I think Jimmy Horn Jr. needs to be one of your kickoff returners for sure.
Yeah, I think for sure. And Wester, I think he's preseason All-American as a punt returner, but he's a guy you got to have out there because you have him returning punts, he's going to get you a touchdown or two at some point, and those are game changers. So
cool to see Isaiah Harge get that silver jersey to go both ways. He's not going to be a starter at any place at this stage of his college career.
Right.
So his best attribute is his versatility. We saw it in the spring game. He was a very good slot receiver at St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida, one of the powerhouses in that state. Great, showed excellent short area quickness, and got a lot of power conference offers that he chose Colorado over. And he also played corner his senior year there at St. Thomas Aquinas when they had some injuries. So he's been doing this, jumping around, using his versatility back through high school.
Right. Played a running back in the spring game and doing a good job of it too.
40-yard touchdown in the spring game. It was a nice run.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then you bringing up the silver jersey. I just want to bring this up because Travis Hunter was out there. He was dressed, but he didn't play. But he spent the whole game. He had this ginormous white baseball cap that was like 3 times too big for his head. I swear to God,
I don't know. I think it was like 10 times too big for his head.
Oh my God! And it was. I just love that guy. But I was watching him wearing that hat. And I was like, that's somebody's little brother. He looked like he's 12 years old with that hat on like that. Like he's wearing his older brother's big hat, and it was just a ginormously oversized white hat. And I just love that kid because he just brings such joy and happiness to everything he's involved in.
He's a character.
Yeah.
It's funny because we haven't talked to Travis Hunter as media. He was supposed to be at Big 12 Media Days. He wasn't at CU's Media Day event, and I don't care. I really don't, because I know that that's not his favorite thing to do. And like you said, he brings joy into your life even without having to do media responsibilities. Now, when you get to the NFL, you have to do it. We saw it with Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. Travis won't be that. He'll do it when he has to. He's not going to get fined for it. So it'll all work itself out. And if I don't see Travis in a media setting for the rest of his career, I'll be just fine, because what I want to see is between those lines. And there are not many people on this planet, in fact, really no one that can do what he can do from a versatility standpoint.
Right. And, talking about just bringing a smile to your face and bringing joy. I watched Coach Prime's entire presser after the practice, and I just couldn't stop smiling. He was just so, and I had left by that time, so you were actually there. I'd like to get your impression, but what I see in that video, he was joyful and happy and glad that they were there and excited by all the fans. And he even reached out to the CBS guy in a very positive way, I thought. And I just couldn't stop smiling through the whole press conference. And I don't know what it was that he was just so animated and happy. And it just brought me joy to watch it.
My favorite part was right after I asked a question, the PA guy at All City Stadium
Right.
started talking, and it was, yeah, I couldn't even make out what he was saying because it was just too much
Right.
bass on
It
those
was like
speakers.
Charlie Brown's
It
teacher.
was exactly.
Yeah.
And Coach
Yeah.
Prime just kind of put his head down and smiled. And at one point he said, everybody deserves their moment. He's been waiting for this all week. And that was maybe my favorite moment of the post-game press conference.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, there was this perception coming out of media day that Coach Prime is a bully towards the media. The CBS thing was a whole separate thing that had nothing to do, as he said in the moment, towards Eric Christensen. The Sean Keeler thing, as we have pointed out at this point, was a long time coming, but folks don't read the Denver Post for prime content nationally, right?
Right.
Generally. So they just see it as, why is he going after this guy? And it's like, well, go read what this guy has written the last year and a half, and then you'll put it into perspective. But people don't have the time for that. They just want to buy into the drama and then have their take based on very limited information. And so, yeah, that you have to be on your toes as a media guy when you're around Coach Prime, and that's the way it should be.
Right.
Think through your question before you ask it.
Right. And I thought the other thing that was interesting, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but the whoever the guy that runs that thing for CU, he kept trying to shut it off, and Coach Prime kept going, "No, I'll take a couple more. I'll take a couple more."
Yeah. Curtis Snyder, he's the man. He's SID, him and Herman for the SID staff. They do a great job. And, they work with Coach Prime, who he's got his own way of handling media. It's unconventional, but it also lets fans into the program more so than really any other program in the country. So there's going to be detractors there. And I don't know. We're going to continue to have to bring up some of the out-of-state drama from time to time, national drama, or even locally if Sean Keeler thinks he's going to keep asking questions. But once they start playing the games, it feels like it's easier just to ignore that stuff. And that's why I'm really looking forward to a week from next Thursday.
Well, I think it's sad to me because from a closer perspective where we are, what I get from Coach Prime is the same thing I get from Travis Hunter, is that these are two people, he just brings joy to life, and he really goes out of his way to promote, for lack of a better word, the little people, who have such good parts of everything. Like, talk about that PA announcer, right? Who, he doesn't know who that guy is, but he knows the guy who wanted to have, you know, welcome them. And I think the guy was thanking the boss for being there and thanking everybody for coming and whatever. And, and Coach Prime went out of his way to say, you know what, he's been waiting to do that all day. So I'll wait for him to do that,
Yeah.
And those kinds of things, it makes me sad for people who are so damaged that they can't see that some people are just happy, joyful people, and they bring that, and there's no ulterior motive or whatever. But everything Coach Prime does that I can see is, to bring joy to life. And he's a happy guy. I don't know. So I guess I don't understand why the people don't see it.
Coach Prime is so famous that no matter where he goes, everybody wants a piece of him because it's going to add to their story. That's an impossible scenario.
I can't imagine.
Like, no one can handle that 100% perfectly, yet somehow Coach Prime comes pretty darn close.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it sometimes. It's almost feels claustrophobic to me. Like, I'd be like, get the F away from me, leave me alone. And you don't really ever.
I couldn't do it. I could not do that.
Oh my goodness, and there were people, along the fence line, hey, Coach Prime, and there was two of those principals had one of his Atlanta Braves jerseys, and they were hanging on a fence and hoping to get him to come sign it. And somebody from CU came and said he just really can't do that. But I don't know. It just shows you sort of the level of I don't know, adoration that people have for him. They just want him to come over and acknowledge, be part of their life. And it's just exciting to me to see all that. And it's sad to me that there's so many people looking to tear him down and who will just, immediately believe what somebody says with no evidence whatsoever.
Yep. Anything else to close out here? This was it was fun to catch up last night, to watch the open practice, and now I feel like the countdown really begins, getting ready for the season opener.
Yeah, we're getting close. It was nice to see Liz out there, and you
Yeah.
were asking, like you were talking to me, it was like you like, I'm not sure where Liz is. I'm like, well, I could see her red hair in the sunlight all the way across, like it was lit up. I was like, she's right over there, man. So it was good to see her, and she always has great photos, and good to see
Yeah.
you guys. I just really think this was a beautiful event. Um, I can't say enough about what a positive thing I think this is in a larger sense, and both for the team too. Like Coach Prime kept saying, it gets old to go out on the same damn practice field and do the same damn thing day after day. So they got them on the buses like it was an away game, and they went down and they played football, And I just think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant marketing, and I am thankful to all the people that showed up. Shout out to the two guys I was standing with on the stairs watching the whole damn thing. As two guys that watch these videos, and they're like, "Hey, man, aren't you the guy with Adam on the videos?" So that was a lot of fun, and I think there was one of the players' moms was sitting right behind me, and that's always fun. And so it was just it was, if you made it out there, good for you. If you didn't, I'm sorry you didn't get to be there, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, I got to ask you, how are you handling this level of fame? We just talked about how famous Coach Prime is.
Well, outside of CU events, I have yet to be stopped anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
think,
going to make a prediction by the end of 2024. I'm going to put that out as a challenge. Somebody needs to find William on the streets and
where's
say,
Waldo? Or,
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. It's not, and it was not the first time. Like, the last time that CU played at Michigan, 2016, I had people walk up to me as I was walking out of the stadium afterwards, and hey, Max, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, but nobody's recognized me in everyday life outside of a CU event.
Okay. Like I said, I'm sticking with my prediction. It's going to happen soon for
Yeah,
you, buddy.
yeah. I think people are source, and I've mentioned this. I'm often surprised, by my own size, and what I mean by that is like, in the terms of like a college football and the NFL football world, I'm more linebacker size, right? So I'm a 6'3". Well, I keep trying to say 6'3", 230, but sadly right now it's like 260, and we're going to try to work that back down. But I'm a middle-sized football guy, right? And I've worked with linemen my whole life, and so I'm used to being a small guy in comparison to the kids I coach at that position. So I'm always sort of struck when I see photos like a our work photo, and I'm like, who's that huge guy? And that's me. And I'm a lot bigger than the average guy, apparently, So I think people are always surprised when they meet me. They're like, "Oh, you're a lot bigger than I thought." So I'm not sure if they mean I'm a lard ass, but hopefully they just mean I'm tall.
Your words, not mine, and I wouldn't say those words because it's not true. So don't. Yeah. Feel good about yourself. Do we need to end this on like a meditation therapy
Yeah,
session
should
here?
have a virtual hug or something like that. Like I did, like somebody posted online that we should do like a virtual film room or something like that. If we could watch more film or have people get together and show film, that would be a lot of fun if we could ever figure it out how to do it. Because it's hard to explain some of these concepts without showing it on video. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to.
I see
Go
those
ahead.
shows where people do that, and it always looked like it'd be a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah, no, that would be fun. I enjoy our film rooms, and if we need to change up the format, we can. Yeah. So we're getting close. We need to probably catch up one more time before the season opener, right?
Yeah, I think so for sure. And then
Okay.
not for nothing, but I turned 60 the day after the North Dakota State game. So,
They owe you an
landmark,
early birthday gift for sure.
yeah, landmark birthday or something like that. I don't know, getting, I don't know. It's mind boggling to me to be turning 60. Don't know how it got here this fast, but here
Well,
it is.
it's a good thing that 60 is the new 40, so you're still
Is that
doing
what it is?
okay.
Yes. Hey, look, for me, 60 is the new 58.
Yeah. I think once you get past like 40, you never think about birthdays anymore.
Yeah.
And the
I
years
think
to start the years just start coming so fast. And
right.
it's
50
not
is
like I'm
sort
that far past it. I'm
right.
not even 40 born in 45 yet. See, I forget how old I am. That's how
Yeah.
it changes once you get over that 40 number, because you keep hearing it's all downhill from there, but yet I know myself better now than I ever did
Right.
in my 20s. And so
Right.
there's a piece of life that you get as you get older that
Yeah.
kind of offsets the fact that every once in a while you'll wake up with a soreness, or there was a one time last year, William, I woke up out of bed and I had a full-on sprained ankle. How does a
Yeah.
human being sprain their ankle in the sleep to the
Well,
point where they have to limp around for an entire day?
yeah.
That was a new experience, and that signal that I'm getting older. But then, yeah, again, like I said, there's some other things that offset it.
Yeah, wait till you put another 10 years on there, man, and it's like, what the hell? How did I get hurt doing that, for Christ's sakes, but I was reading about a guy, who was a heroic World War II veteran, and on his 98th birthday, he was climbing trees with kids, and I that's the guy I want to be. That's why I want to lose the 30 pounds and be able to be functional and have fun.
Yeah,
That's what I love about Prime, man. With his feet problems and everything else, he's still a happy, joyful guy, and I'd rather be more like that than
yeah.
you know. I want to be happy Max, not angry Max.
We forget too where Coach Prime was a year ago, just health wise, coming off
Right,
those
right,
surgeries, and you don't even really think about it anymore because you don't notice it anymore. He moves around
right,
just like
right.
anybody else
And
out there, and
and
that's something that we forget about.
I don't think most people really understood how serious that was and how debilitating it was and how it, impacted him in practice. And so he's a totally different guy this year out on the field. And you watch, so, I noticed I was watching Coach Prime, and he was up in the north end zone of throughout the whole darn thing. He was on his feet. He didn't have any problems with it. And it was hot out there. And he had that sort of mechanics coverall thing on, I guess, overall, whatever, I'm not sure what you call it, but jumpsuit, something like that. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, you got to be hot out there, because that field's got to be 15 degrees hotter than where I was, and where I was hot. But he was down there the whole time, engaged in the whole darn thing, and seemed to be having fun with it. And I just think that that's going to make a huge difference in terms of him as a person. And I got to tell you again, all my years doing this, teams respond to where their coaches are. Okay. And if a coach isn't having physical difficulties and pain, it's going to reflect in some way. So I think, I guess I think what I take away from this, maybe as a final word, is I was in very much impressed with this team last night in a holistic sense, with the talent and the depth, and I didn't see mistakes. And I just came away from it with a very positive feeling, is, I guess, my final word on it.
And I think that's a great final word for this podcast. Let's leave some meat on the bone so we can come back before the season opener. We'll get into our predictions then. I almost spilled my prediction earlier, but I'm going to bite my tongue now, and we'll come back with a new show before they kick off the season against North Dakota State
Adam
University.
said 12 wins, no excuses.
All right, William, it was great to see you last night out at All City Stadium. Great to catch up with you over Zoom here, and I hope everybody out there appreciated it. And thank you for tuning in.